Everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Pitching and Presenting Quick Tips. My name is Bennett, and I'm going to be your facilitator today. My background very quickly. So I was originally a math teacher, and I wanted to be a drama teacher, but unfortunately they didn't offer that at my university. In and out of my life, I've been in theatre and predominantly in stand-up comedy. So that's a little bit of my background in the presenting side of it. In terms of entrepreneurship, I've been in and out of businesses as well growing up. And the last couple of years, I've really focused on entrepreneurship within higher education and how better to engage audiences and our customers. I work at RMIT Activator, and there I'm the lead learning designer, where we facilitate workshops like this all the time, helping people like you to develop their skills in presentation. So without further ado, let's get stuck into how to develop your pitch. So storytelling, whether you like it or not, it's about how you say something rather than what you say. Okay, there's always this dilemma, and people often spend a lot of time curating their pitch deck to perfection by utilizing the exact right words at the exact right time. And that's great, but we find that often audiences are listening more so to how you're saying something. This can be good and bad, and we have examples of that all over the world where people might not know what they're talking about, but they say it in a way that has the audience believing them. So what we'd prefer is that you do both of those things. This workshop is going to be more about how you say something. And to start with, we're going to give you a framework, and this framework is called the 5 C's. So we've taken this framework from the Chaos Pilot, which is a university over in Denmark. And this framework can be used for any time you need to present an idea to any kind of audience. It's a really nice framework to frame your entire pitch. Some of the pitfalls that I'm going to explain are around how people try and sell the details of your idea. You sell the specifications, you try and sell the data, you try and sell the statistics. And what you're about to see is that when you start your pitch with that, it's a really effective way to completely kill the emotional engagement from the audience. So you don't want that. What you want is to engage the audience emotionally first. From that engagement, once you've got them on the edge of their seats and they're saying, wow, that's a serious problem, I need the solution, then you deliver your details, your statistics, whatever it is that you think is going to build the credibility of your product. So what do I mean by that? This is the 5 C's framework. There's a lot here, and don't worry, this particular video is going to come with this framework, so you can have a look at it. It's an open source framework, and it's based loosely off the hero's journey. So if you haven't heard of the hero's journey, it's an archetype that a lot of stories now follow from end to end, where the hero gets disrupted, has to go through trials and tribulations, and eventually comes out on top. So taken from the hero's journey, this framework is in a similar way. The pink line that you see represents the emotional engagement of the audience. This is the line that you really want to focus on at the beginning, at the end, at the end of your pitches. It's really important that to emotionally engage your audience, you first do the context of your problem and the change, what needs to change in society or whatever you're trying to address. So let's break that down really quickly before we get into the rest of them. By context, what do we mean? This really means forget your solution, start with the problem. The first thing you should be doing is walking on stage and giving the audience an opportunity to engage with you, to align their thoughts with a problem that they might have, or maybe a friend or family member of theirs has. Once they've engaged with the problem, which is the context that you're setting, they are going to be much more susceptible to the solution, and never the other way around. So the first C, context, is about framing the problem for the audience, allowing them to come on board and align themselves with what you're trying to pitch. That's going to build their emotional engagement to you. The second C is change. Okay, so now they're on the edge of their seat and now they're thinking about, hey, that problem that you mentioned, I have that problem too, or I know someone who has that problem. But that's not enough yet to sell something. What you need to instill within the audience is you need to instill a desire for a need to change. It's not good enough just to say that there is a problem, but there's a problem and we must act now. Okay, what are the consequences without acting? What would society look like 5 years from now if we did nothing? Okay, really trying to harness that edge of the seat desire for how can we possibly go on any longer? This is where the second C comes in, change, really trying to impart on the audience the need for us to get off our seats, so to speak, and do something about it. So setting the context, setting the change. If you can focus the majority of your pitching rehearsals on those two things, you will have done very well in engaging audience from the very beginning and would have done better than most pitchers who tend to really focus on their solution. So you've got them on the edge of the seats. Now what? So now's the chance to introduce whatever your concept or content is. Okay, now's your chance to give a little bit of detail around the statistics, around the facts, around the minor details of your solution. So you can see on the pink line that what happens, this always happens, and it's because of the way that humans are wired. So when we make decisions, it'd be a really nice thing if we made decisions all the time from the rational side of us. Unfortunately, that's just not the case. People make irrational decisions all the time. And actually, studies have found that when it comes to purchasing or when it comes to making big decisions, we tend to trust our gut. We tend to feel, and we tend to go with that feeling. We don't have a saying that says, trust our head. And that's because even though ostensibly we should be doing that, often it's not the case. So during the time of giving the facts and the figures, you're removing the audience from their emotional side and you're starting to have them think rationally about your product. This is going to naturally lower their emotional engagement. That's fine, okay? You still need to build in credibility and you still need to show that you've done your research. But just be aware that the longer you talk about these things, the less emotionally engaged your audience is going to be with what you're saying. Okay, so concept and content, introducing yours into the audience is really important. And you can start to build the emotional engagement again when you talk about capacity. Okay, so this is you demonstrating research, market research, that now is the time, because you've validated it, for your solution. Now is the time, the perfect time for your solution to be introduced into the wider world or into this problem space. Okay, by starting to talk about your research in the wider market, proving that now is the time, you can start to get a bit of emotional attraction again from the audience. Okay, once you've developed that capacity, which is the capacity of the wider world at the moment for your solution, you build into commitment. It's really important in pitches, and it's also really awkward to do, but it's really important that you're not just there in front of a bunch of people talking. Okay, that's what might be different to a public speaking event versus a pitch. In a pitch, you are fundamentally asking something. Like it might be that you're in a competition and you're asking a panel of judges to choose your particular pitch over others. It might be that you're asking for funding, which is what we see often. You might have seen shows like Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, or at RMIT Activator, for example, we have our own funding board. So you might be asking for funds or support or networks or co-founders. What makes a pitch unique is this last section. You're asking something from the audience, which means you need a commitment. You need for audience members at the end of your pitch to be nodding their head, even if they're unaware that they're nodding their head, and saying, yeah, I want to be on board with this. I recognize the problem. I've felt the problem is serious. I've seen that they've done their research. am on board with their solution. Now is the time to act. Where do I sign up? Okay, having that last step is, like I said, can be a bit awkward. Asking something from someone is always awkward, but it is essential to a pitch. So you'll get this framework with this video. This is the 5 C's, okay? Context, change, concept, capacity, commitment. Use this framework as one where you can start to pen your own pitch and make sure that you're emotionally engaging before you're talking about your solution and asking for a commitment at the end. Well, that gets the how to structure your pitch out of the way. But obviously we have the nerves, sweaty palms, tight throat. You know, you can say to me, Dylan, I get it. Yeah, okay, now I know how to structure my pitch, but I still get on stage and shake like a leaf. Or my voice goes really high and I speak really fast. Okay, so first thing you should know about that is completely normal. Anxiety is the most normal thing, particularly when you're on stage and you're presenting. It's so normal. It's really important to normalize this feeling. You're not weird. You're not different because you feel nervous. That makes you human, okay? Everyone else is feeling the exact same way. No matter how accomplished a presenter you might be, there are always going to be moments when your heart increases and your palms get sweaty. So what do we do about it? What's interesting about nervousness is that when physiologically your palms are sweaty, your heartbeat increases, it's actually the same thing as when we're excited. Okay, and that's really important for a couple of reasons. We're able to talk ourselves and reframe the opportunity that we're doing into one of excitement rather than nervousness. This is the first step into conquering those nerves. So when you're about to do something and you can feel your heart increase and you can feel your palms get sweaty, take a moment and think of your situation and try and reframe it in your brain. Walking on the stage, for example, can either be looked at as the most terrifying thing that you've ever done, or it can be an exciting thing. You're going to be fine by the end of it. What a cool opportunity this is to be able to practice your presentation skills. What an amazing, and how grateful you are to be here and to develop and to talk to people. Remembering it's not really about you on stage. If you're pitching something, you're probably trying to solve other people's problems. That's great. Let's focus on that. How cool is it that you get a chance to help a whole bunch of other people? Okay, really reframing that and trying to get out of your own head and out of your own body in that nervous aspect, and reframing it so that it's about other people and that it's an exciting, cool opportunity. That's the first step. So obviously you should try, and that's something that can be developed over time. I've been on stage as a stand-up comedian, and it's really hard to do when you're halfway on stage and you're telling a joke and it's completely bombing. I get it, okay? It's really hard to be on stage and to tell yourself that joke that didn't land, I am having a great time right now, okay? I get it. So another thing that we can do, we can't control our sweat, we can't control our heart, but we can control our breath. So this is the second thing to do to really calm our nerves. Breathing is no secret, and it's also no coincidence that a lot of mindfulness and a lot of calming meditation involves long, deep breaths. It is our way of signaling to the rest of our body, chill, you got this. If I was in danger, would I be taking such big, long breaths? By breathing in a really slow manner, counting 3, 4, 5 seconds in, 3, 4, 5 seconds out, this is going to send that signal to the rest of your body that you're in control, that you're calm. It's not a fight or flight situation. So both of those tools together is what creates a really confident speaker. And one more. Feedback. So This has to be the most important tool of this entire video. And it's one that people unfortunately rarely do. When you're in theatre, when you're practicing, you are literally saying the words that are in the script. How often can you say you've done that for your entire presentations, where you've put yourself on the stage, the environment which you're going to be presenting in, and you've done a dress rehearsal, which is that you've dressed up in what you're going to wear, you've spoken without looking at your lines, and you've practiced the words coming out of your mouth. Okay, maybe some of you have done that. How many have had a director or someone standing by to give you cues about what you said and how you said it? This is the fundamental aspect. Not everyone can have a director, obviously. We're not all Brad Pitt. But what you can do is self-feedback. Record yourself. Be your own director. Now, I know a lot of people have a bit of anxiety around their own voice, and hearing their own voice can be a bit weird. You have to get over this, because that voice that you hear in the recording is the voice that everyone else hears. And if you don't like it, there are things that you can do to change that. If you don't like the amount of ways you say or ah, or maybe you don't like how fast you speak, well, how do you know if that's what you're doing until you've actually got evidence? Recording yourself is the most important tool of this entire video. You know what sounds good and what sounds bad. So use that knowledge on yourself. Be kind, but also be critical. Okay, you're in it to develop yourself so that you're going to help other people. Remember that. When you're recording yourself and listening to yourself, give yourself feedback. It's best if you can write notes so that when you do it again, you can use those notes to compare to. And at the end, give it to other people for even more feedback. Or better yet, speak in front of them. So that is going to be the most important tool, combined with the ability to reduce your nerves, which is, remember, by reframing the problem, reframing the speech so that it's an exciting event, and also taking long, deep, slow breaths, and using the 5C framework from beginning to end so that you know you've done the best that you can to emotionally engage the audience before you're providing the solution, and you're doing the difficult thing by asking for a commitment from them. Using all of these tools and techniques are going to put you in the best spot to deliver an amazing pitch. Good luck.